Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Oh, if you're just joining us later in the day and you have no idea what the hell happened, I'll tell you what happened in a few moments here. But crazy stuff indeed, folks. There was a big malfunction. Not my fault. It wasn't my fault. Hey, this is episode 34 of McRae Live. It is 12:19 p.m. March the 26th, 2020. And yeah, this is definitely not my fault, folks. There was I was in the middle of doing the stream, and everything seems to be okay right now. I'm looking. I'm nervous as hell right now. But I think everything's okay. Let me just take that down, take that down, take that down, take that down. I'm closing everything to make sure that I give myself the best probability of a successful stream. But we'll keep going here and we'll see how this goes. Yeah, so what happened was I'm in the middle of doing my thing. I'm answering your questions, and all of a sudden I noticed that the screen that I have over here where I watch the show, it's a bit delayed, but I can see the show to make sure that I'm still broadcasting. There was an error message, and I thought, oh, okay, so I'll just refresh it. And then there was an error message again. I'm like, what's going on? And then I couldn't, and then I started to ask you guys if you could still hear me or see me. And of course the chat was sort of locked. I couldn't even see you guys, even if you could. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stop the stream. And then I refreshed my page. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting an error message, not one word of a lie, that said my channel no longer existed. My heart went from my chest to below my kneecaps, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, my channel no longer exists. What are you talking about? What's going on? And then I refresh the page again. I'm getting 404 errors and 500 errors, and then that's when I sent out a Facebook post and a YouTube community. I couldn't even actually comment on the community section on my YouTube page on my desktop at first because it wouldn't allow me to do anything. I couldn't do anything on my channel via my desktop. So I went over to my mobile and I'm there on my cell, my smart cell. Who says cell anymore? What is this, 1997? So I went over to my smartphone and I was able to access the community section that way, made a couple of posts, and then all of a sudden I refreshed my page and I'm back. And somebody sent me a message saying that there's a few countries around the world right now, and actually a few parts of the US too, that are having some issues with YouTube. So that is what happened. My apologies. I appreciate your patience. Thank you for tuning in. Obviously, maybe some of you cannot tune in now because you had to go back to work. If you're working at home, of course, that is. But anyway, that is what happened. But you know, I'm back, and I thought, I can't just come back and do the same thing over again. I can't just come back and reiterate what I did, so I decided to come back with a vengeance, and I have brought in the man, the myth, the legend himself, ladies and gentlemen, Cecil Laird. How the hell are you, Cecil?
I'm doing good. Man, myth, legend. I don't know about all that. Man, yeah.
No, I was talking about myself.
Oh, well, fair enough, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Bring it on here with me, the man, the myth, the legend. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And crazy. But you just told me that because I reached out to you and I was like, are you having issues? And you just told me that no, but I did notice that YouTube did take a little bit to kick in on your phone, right?
Yeah. Well, no, the phone was okay, but when I came to my computer, I loaded in the page, and yeah, it was saying YouTube is having problems loading in the details of your videos, retrying in 5 seconds, and then retrying in 10 seconds, retrying in 15 seconds. So it was like really taking a minute to load in, but I think they must have fixed whatever the issue was. So
I hope so. Oh, some people are saying we're frozen. No, we're not frozen. We're still going. It froze again. Seems to be okay here. I'm watching like a hawk, man. Whenever that happens, you tend to watch more diligently than you normally do. So seems to be okay. Yeah, it's working here. Try refreshing your page, Ethan.
Let me apologize to Jonathan. 3 straight days of streams with Cecil. Sorry, man.
No, I wanted to bring Cecil on because sometimes it's just nice to have somebody to chat to during these times when the news on the front that we normally talk about is sort of very far and few between. And I was doing a Q&A before I got sliced by the YouTube gods, and we're still going to do a Q&A, but I thought, you know what, the more the merrier. Let's bring Cecil in to do a Q&A with me.
Yeah, man.
I thought, why the hell not? And how are you hanging in down there? I mean, what's it like? Are you getting cabin fever yet?
I've always been a bit of a homebody, so being at home isn't a big deal. Obviously, YouTubers we live at our house, you know. Right. I mean, everyone lives at their house. Yeah. That's the kind of brilliance you get with a Cecil stream, guys. The YouTubers live at their house,
right?
But yeah, no, you know, we tend to be kind of introverted people a lot of times anyway. So while I do enjoy going out, living at home isn't a big deal. However, I have found that when you don't have the option to leave, it does feel a little bit different. And when it's like, yeah, I know I can leave. And to that point, apparently rush hour traffic has gone away. I don't really travel during rush hour anyway, but to me, there's not that many fewer people out and about. I mean, I was forced to go to a couple places yesterday, and there's still people all up in Target's business, all up in Walmart's business. And like, if any, I even told Dave, because he went with me, my producer Dave.
Yeah.
I was like, if anywhere is gonna be a transmission center, it's gonna be Walmart.
Oh, 100%. I'm stunned. I think the malls are closed now, but it took like a couple of weeks, and I'm like, why are the malls? Who the hell? Hey, honey, I need a pair of pants from Urban Planet. I mean, like, who? like you can't wait. Like, I mean, really? Like, so you close down the parks, you close down, you know, the businesses, and you close it, but you leave the malls open. I mean, grocery stores, I get. Like, I understand it, obviously, but malls, really?
Yeah, malls are a surprise. I didn't even know the malls were still open. I hadn't considered that. I had seen a post, actually, now that you bring it up, that someone said went to GameStop, and now I see why there's all the hullabaloo, because all the other stores in the mall are closed. And I was like, oh, I hadn't even considered that. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe they closed the malls out here, but I didn't know. I mean, I know where the whole world is dealing with it, but I didn't know if things were as crazy up for you guys as they are down here.
100%. We now, obviously, it's relative because of our population, right? Mm-hmm. So the country of Canada has about 40 million people, you know, give or take. It's essentially like the size of the, you know, state of California. California. It's hard to believe that California has, you know, nearly, but it's saturated out there. But anyway, so we have about 40 million people. And we have, I don't know what the case is now, because I've been trying not to watch the news as much now. It's so depressing and so, you know. But I know that in the province of Ontario, I think we have over 600 infected. Yes, I think over 600. I think across the country we're over 2,000 now, which of course in the U.S. I think you're above 60,000 reported. But of course, when you think of the population, you know, it might. If you're, you know, to do the averages, it might at the end of the day equal out to the same or close to it, maybe. Yeah, exactly. So we're definitely experiencing it. Everything is shut down here. You know, Toronto has declared a state of emergency, which is huge, considering it's the fourth largest, you know, city in North America. I mean, that's a major metropolitan center essentially shutting down. And yeah, I mean, everything's closed up here, and we're being told to stay inside. And I think the Prime Minister of Canada yesterday approved something like $100 billion you know, package to put into the, you know, for people who are out of work.
Billion? Holy shit.
Yeah, something like it. Well, I mean, but that's
true. I guess ours was like 2 trillion or something.
Yours was 2 trillion. That's right. Yeah. But you think of the population, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's that. I think it was like 102 billion or something, which is a lot of money anyway. I mean, you know, depending how you look at it, but you know. Yeah, it's crazy up here. But what you're saying is true, because when I do go out to the grocery store or whatever, I'm driving down the street and I'm like, yeah, everything looks, you know, it just looks like a Sunday. You know, like that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. Although I will say, you know, trying to make lemons out of lemonade, as a self-professed kind of people watcher, I've always been a people watcher. You know, going to malls, and I can just chill at a table and just kind of watch and entertain myself and make up my own stories and just all that kind of stuff. But there's a fun game involved with that, by the way. If you ever go to a public place, there's a play, non sequitur eavesdropping, where you listen in on a conversation if you're nearest, but only listen for one sentence and just see what that, like, because you can pick up on the weirdest things. and like just be like, whoa, what was that about? If you remove yourself without listening for more than that. It's really kind of fun.
Do you know what I would love to do? I to be fair, it's not like it's my idea, because I did see a couple of YouTube comedians doing it, but I think it's hilarious. I absolutely love the idea. And I would love to do it with somebody like you, or like somebody who gets it, who's got like great sense of humor, who totally gets it, is you go into like a public space and you're on your phone and you walk up to somebody, but it's the conversation you're having and you get their reaction. So like, maybe they're reaching for ketchup or something, right? And I'm there and I'm reaching for, mayonnaise or something, and I'm there and I'm just like, yeah, no, honey, I'm not taking the dog's underwear off. It's because his testicles are too big. Yes. Well, it's exactly like your grandmother. I don't think it would be. And you just kind of walk, but you're dead serious. And just to get the look on their faces, like, and you don't break character. You don't go, I'm just kidding. No, you just walk away and you walk around the corner as if you're still having the conversation. Like, you're dead serious.
Yeah, you got to do that.
So
with
funny.
Someone, you got to do that with people that are willing to commit like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
I love that kind of stuff. That's too. It's just, you got to have fun in life. So
you do. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the point I was driving at is that it's interesting. You go to the places and you see that people will kind of give each other a wider berth as they pass. And
that's right.
Oh, thank you.
Was that your secretary that just came in?
He's just handed me a burrito. So.
I love it, because you're just sitting there. I can't see who it is, and all I see is, well, I think you have to surround yourself with it. Oh. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. I have and what's
all over.
What's even funnier about that is that just before that, your phone was going off as if it's somebody who's buzzing into your office.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my breakfast. Let me hit that. But no, so you go in and you watch these things, and like I went on a walk. Right, I'm trying to do my exercising still. So I walk along my canal, right? Because there's a canal right behind me, and it's generally pretty empty. But now, because all the gyms are shut down, there's actually quite a few people walking along it. So when we do, like, it's funny, I was walking straight down and there were 3 people coming towards me, and they had kind of fanned out, right? And so they bunched up together as I just kind of moved this way. And so the 3 of them, and we just passed like this, but we still gave each other polite smiles and nods. Right. It's weird. Everyone gives each other space, but they're friendly about it, So,
right. Well,
so that is what's interesting to me. Or seeing all these restaurants, if you go to a restaurant for takeout, because that's all that's available, all the chairs are up, or they have it arranged where they just have a path where you can't get to the actual sit down part. So this is stuff that we're never going to see again unless this happens again. So I'm registering it as like, this is an interesting sort of life thing right now.
It's 100%. It's a very interesting time. My girlfriend and I have come up with something. So there's social distancing, right? Which we're all supposed to be, doing. And then there's something we like to call antisocial distancing. And that's like, if you lived across the street from me, right? And I, come outside, I'd be like, hey, Cecil, what's going on? And you're like, hey, Dave, what's happening? But we're like, 30 feet away. That's social distancing, right? But then antisocial distancing is the same thing. I come out, hey, Cecil, what's going on? And you look at me like, fucking idiot. And you just kind of walk away, and it's like, what the hell's going on? Well, hey, what's going on? It's like these smug looks that people, give you, as you walk by them. But it's the same up here. Like I jog along this path, and I see people coming, and we're all kind of doing this and around each other like this, and it's a very interesting time, a very interesting thing. You're absolutely right. I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, everybody, whether you're at the studio level, dishing out, major Hollywood blockbusters right down to the independent scene. I mean, we're all feeling it. I mean, Dylan's new Nightmare obviously has had to be delayed. Our Indiegogo campaign for It's Me, Billy has to be delayed because of what's going on. We were supposed to go see a location a couple of weeks ago, and we were going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Myself and Bruce were going up to see a location that would act as our main location. You know a bit about it, but it's I'm keeping it tight zipped right now because it's just so good and so juicy. But And then we were going to drive about another 40 minutes up the road after that into Ottawa, which is Canada's capital. Because that's where I grew up. And there's my dad has a friend there who owns a restaurant, which is a location we were thinking about, but he had to close down naturally. So we figured, well, if he's closing down and we don't, it's a 4-hour drive, we still kind of want to do that 2 birds with 1 stone thing. So we called the other place and said, is there any way we can reschedule? They're like, yeah, no problem. Like, we completely get it. You know what I mean? And so it's affecting everybody. It's affecting everybody. Has to mix and match and move things around, and hopefully we can get back on track sooner rather than later. But I don't know. It's really touch and go right now. It's interesting.
We have the orangutan in chief saying that we'll be back by April 12th, and it's like, no, bro, that's not going to happen.
No way. No way.
But nonetheless, so yeah, it's a weird situation. It's affecting part of what CP and I talked about yesterday on our Halloween Kills stream. We finally talked about Halloween Kills because he has some insider info on it. And we were wondering, with all this, this situation has really allowed the movie industry an opportunity to test run something that I'm sure they and we all have been considering for so long, which is the straight to VOD releases. Right. I think that this is going to be their test run to be like, how much did we make with the $20 price tag for Invisible Man on VOD now? How much for The Hunt? We're going to get Trolls, right? The first one that's actually going to be released straight without going to theater first. And, we're going to find out whether or not, oh shit, we made more than $200 million just because everyone at home has access to it. But are they also going to make way less because the whole family doesn't need to go now, right? They get 120. So we were talking about how this is going to change the landscape, and how, if we are still under quarantine by October, heaven forbid, would they drop that on VOD, or would they push it to keep it in the theater? I think these movies are going to be, they're going to watch the numbers to determine whether or not it's going to be worth it to do that or not.
They're definitely watching the numbers. It's an interesting, it's very interesting. The issue they have right now is could they, is it probable, or is it feasible? Is it possible that if you have an independent film, or not independent film, excuse me, but a low budget, relatively speaking, film like an Invisible Man or like a Halloween, where maybe your budget's, between 5 and 10 million or, something. I mean, could you release that to VOD and streaming and make your money back? Maybe, but then you have to factor in the marketing cost as well. You double it for marketing and things like that you're doing, unless you change it, but I mean, maybe. But where it's unlikely right now is your big tentpole films, like your blockbusters. I mean, you're not going to make $250 million. And then, of course, maybe that's just the production budget. You double that for marketing. I mean, you're just going to, like a Star Wars movie, a Marvel film, a DC film, any movie, any big epic sci-fi film or whatever that's got like $150 million production budget, double it, to $300 million for marketing, maybe even a little bit more than that, to release that at home. I mean, it's just, I don't think we're there yet for those movies. They're not going to make that kind of cash on VOD. Right. It's just, we're just not there. It's just we're not there. But the smaller films, like if I made a movie that cost $1.5 million to make, I mean, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that might be something, but I don't see it. And everybody's at home right now. When things go back to normal, not everybody's going to be at home again.
Right.
So true. You have to factor that in too. It's like, well, now we're just releasing it at home, but then I don't know. It's an interesting discussion. There's no doubt that streaming is beginning to have an impact at the box office, but to make a movie like, The Rise of Skywalker or Endgame and just release it to streaming, you'd lose so much money. Because I can invite you and CP and Cody and the guys at Wham and all over to my place. I can have 30 people over to my place. We could watch it for $20. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
It is. It's funny that this has just allowed them this runway to test it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, we don't have an option, so let's see what we can do. You know?
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you. I don't think theatrical will ever be replaced entirely, ever.
No.
But I think there might be a budget tier that they might be like, okay, from here on out, we're going to release those both theatrically and VOD the same time.
That's possible,
and see how that goes. You know,
it's possible.
But yeah, it was just it's an interesting development for our, you know, what we're into based on all of this craziness.
Absolutely, for sure. Mystery Moji Film sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. Says you would have to charge video game prices $59. I mean, that's not out of the realm of you know, possibility. I think I don't know if it'd be quite that high, but certainly it's you're in the right frame of thinking where it's like, how do we make our money back when we know if we only charge $20, people can have, you know, 300 people over at their house and watch this thing for $20, whereas at the theater, of course, it's an individual, you know, it's an individual case. It's interesting. I get asked all the time too about Halloween Kills and Ends. Halloween Kills right now is all right because it's still far enough away. They're locked, you know, they're obviously in post, probably working on the trailer as well. I don't know which trailer house they sourced out to, but obviously whoever it was is working on it. And I think we're okay with that. If we get into the summer and we're still sort of in the same position, then I think you're going to start to hear a little more about it. With Halloween Ends, you could shoot that movie next January and still make your release date, which is what they did with the 2018 film. So I know a couple of months ago, Blum had said that he was hoping to go to production on Halloween Ends in a couple of months, and that was about a month or so ago. So let's say he meant like April or May. Well, that's not going to happen. Right. But you have a 2021 release date in October. You could still shoot that this fall or even January, and I still think you could make your release date. So I think Ends is okay right now, and I think Kills is okay at the moment. But as you said, if Kills doesn't go to the theater, would they release that on streaming?
Or would they just push it and do a 6-month window instead of a year window in between? Like do Kills in March of next year and then Ends in October?
I would say a big part of that decision would come down to what the landscape is like. Are we getting worse, or are we on the cusp of like we're sort of out of it? We're just kind of still feeling the residual effects. So, but maybe they know by February, no, it's you know, we're fine. It really is a day-to-day, week-to-week sort of
It's
thing.
Crazy.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane, man. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's the first time that I can remember where no one knows when it's going to end. You know,
That's
like
right.
It's just like we can't put a time on it because we just don't know. So no one can make any plans.
That's
you know,
it.
That's the weird thing. Like we're such a planning society that when we can't plan, we don't know what to do with ourselves.
The only plan I have at the moment is this evening. I'm supposed to be having a production meeting with Bruce on It's Me, Billy, and that's we'll be talking about the script and you know, just everything that we can do in the meantime.
Right. Yeah. Well,
you know?
and it's like you and I mentioned briefly off camera. Vince and Miko and I and Renee and you, if we can arrange it, still want to finish up our script meetings to make sure it's completely ready to go, and that way it gives Miko more chance to focus on the completely 100% script's done. We're just literally we have 3 sessions. One of them we already did the first 7 pages. We're going to do the next 7 and then the next 7.
Right.
And we're just going to make it as tight as we possibly can. So we still want to do that, and then. You know, Nora has a bunch of time to get all the effects together, which is exciting because I gave her most of her budget when we were finishing up with Snow out here. And by the way, watched your whole interview with Vince, even dropped a super chat, but then you guys got cut off at the end.
I answered your super chat at the end.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did. Yes, I totally did. I said, oh, here are all the times. Yeah.
Yeah. That was It was just too funny. Like Never Hike Alone was 50 minutes. The BTS was 30 minutes. Disappear was 3 minutes, and the BTS was an hour and a half. It was
right. Yeah, Vince was great to talk to. What a great wealth of knowledge and passion. You know, again, and I say this again, I cannot stress this enough. And yes, folks, we're gonna get to your questions. You know, one of the big reasons why I came on board, why I said yes to you, was because of everybody, including yourself. I mean, you're a part of that, but it's the team involved, and because everybody wants to position themselves, you know, to give them the best probability of success, and you know, it's when you're working at a certain level or when you're at a certain, you know, stage of your life and things like that, you want to be part of things that can align like that. And it's not personal. It's so to speak, business, as they say. And it's and the team involved, and just talking to Vince, which was the first time I had a chance to talk to him at length, just, you know, him and I. And you know, he joked about how people call him Mr. Hype, and certainly I can see that. I mean, his passion is infectious. It's contagious. And those are the kind of people that I want to be around, because they raise you up. They raise your passion. They get you into it. They make you thinking about this, thinking about that, you know, and vice versa. You know, I mean, there's no doubt that there's, you know, things that, you know, we all could say to each other that make us go, oh yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
Yeah. We challenge each other too.
Exactly. 100%. So it was a great interview. Love to have him on again. And I can't wait to see him on the set of Dylan's New Nightmare. And when we finally get to be able to do that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see here. Okay, so send in your questions, folks, for Cecil and I. Your super chats, your questions, your nude photos. Send them all in, and we'll have a look. Anthony Alcaraz says, at Dave and Cecil, what's the best way to gain actors for a fan film or short? Any recommendations? Well, depends on... There's several ways you can answer that. It would primarily depend on the level for which you are working at. So if you are if you're sort of just doing home movies and you're kind of just an aspiring filmmaker and you're, you know, working at more of the amateur level, generally, you know, you tend to try and sort of maybe use your friends or, you know, people, you know, which is okay. And that's expected at that level. The important thing is when you're using your friends, always to make sure that then it really comes down to sort of your script and the way you shoot the movie, because you can have a really amateur home movie look really good and really quote unquote professional-ish, right? Depending on the angles you choose, depending on the way it's cut. You know, don't just use one master shot through the whole thing. Go in for, you know, close-ups. Go in for, try to use maybe an on-camera shotgun mic if possible. That will really help, rather than just a built-in microphone. Little things like that. But so if you're working at a certain level, it would just be kind of your friends. If you're working at more of the professional independent level, like myself or Cecil or Vince, you can reach out to actors through agencies. There's online casting as well and things like that. I don't know what Cecil has done, but we reached out to agencies here in Toronto and put out sort of a casting call, because we wanted to hire professional actors, because obviously that's only going to raise the level of authenticity and believability in their performances and into the project. So there's that. I mean, I don't know what Cecil's done, but that was the avenue that I took. But it does depend on the level for which you're working at and the access to the resources that you know you ultimately have.
I would agree with you. I think there's probably about three levels, three tiers, as it were, as I'm fond of saying this stream, apparently. Yes, there's the friend level, friends and family and people they know. You just ask and be like, hey, I'm making a thing, you know, let's do that. Right. There is that agency level, which I think is the third level. Yeah. That's the professional one. And then there might actually be two in between, right? There's one level where there's local talent. Do your research, right? Local talent. There's always local actors that haven't made it yet. No matter where you are, there's local actors. And as a result, there's always someone that has a online, at one point they were called message boards, but an online presence where they culminate, or they gather all of these things, and you can become a part of that and put yourself on there if you're an actor that's aspiring. Right. And so you can go to those websites and be like, oh, and those actors, a lot of them are willing to do it at a low cost or free, because they're still trying to make it. They're like, again, they're the step above the friends, but they're serious about it. They want to make it their craft. So if you're still at the lower level, you can still reach there. Yeah. You're not stuck with just your friends and family and stuff. You can reach that level. And then I think the level in between there would be kind of what I've been doing for, like, I kind of did 3 and 4, if there's 4 levels here. The 4th being the agency. That's, that's we're going through for a couple of people. That's what we're doing with Miko and stuff like that. Well, Miko was actually more face-to-face, but now that we're getting serious about it, we have to draw up the paperwork and do it for SAG and all that stuff. So you got to do that the professional way. But the 3rd tier is where, depending on who you have involved, again, Vince, this is a sort of, I guess, the referential tier is what you'd call it. So Vince is working with actors that don't necessarily have the agency representation anymore. He's got those actors coming back from the previous Friday movies, and actors that he's met through his projects. So there's the reference, the referrals rather, where he can be like, oh, this person's great. Let me send them your way. You generally will still have to pay these people, but maybe not as high as the top tier, and they're going to be generally higher quality than the bottom 2 I was just talking about. But
that's right.
There's 4 different kind of tiers, I would say, and we've kind of had a mixture of 3 and 4.
Yeah, we same. We actually there's 2 sites I can think of. One that we utilized was Mandy.com. And Mandy.com is a huge online casting source. And there's everybody on there who have, there are, pros on there as well. And as, Cecil said, there are aspiring actors on there as well that have maybe a bit to their portfolio, but are looking to sort of take it to the next level. And then there's agencies as well. And, again, you when you're working at a certain level and you're trying to bring a certain level to the game, you have to play at that level, and that's important. And it's so it does depend on the level that you're working at. But Cecil said it right, that there are the different tiers, and there's nothing wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong if you are in a position where you have to utilize your friends and family. There's nothing wrong with that. Then your focus has to come down to script and story and how you shoot it. And even if you want to shoot it on just your phone, it comes down to understanding. And that comes down to directing, of course, but, don't shoot everything in a wide shot, don't shoot everything in a close-up, be able to make things visually interesting, and there's, that's a whole other show. But there's ways to make an amateur production look professional, in the ways that you shoot it and the dialogue that you write for your actors or your friends, I should say. But yeah, no, that's what I've done. And it looks like, Cecil's done the same thing. But that's it's just because of the level that we're working at. So it's just, you'll get there. If you're passionate about filmmaking and passionate about making films, then there's no doubt in my mind that if you were born to do it, you will do it. It's just the nature.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. I've been doing this for 20 years at this point. I started making short films when I was like in my early 20s, so almost 20 years, and I started at the home video level. A lot of we actually featured a couple of the movies on our channel. We did retro watch throughs, me and producer Dave, because we made those movies together. So literally the first movie I ever made, the first movie I ever submitted to a festival, our first horror movie, all 3 of those are on the channel, and they look every bit of the first of all of those things that we did. Naturally. So, but it's a progression. You learn, you get better, you realize, that you want to wait and get budget to do it right. It's a weird thing, but it takes time. It's not something that you can just flip a switch and you're there.
Absolutely not, for sure. Mark Southam, I think I'm saying that right, Southam, sends a super chat. Thank you, Mark. Says, first time catching you live. Thanks to my Corona action. Coronacation. I see it. Yes. With an unlimited budget, what horror franchise would make a film in if you knew going in you'd have to make a trilogy out of it? What horror franchise would make a film in if you knew going in you'd have to make a trilogy out of it?
What would you make a film in?
What franchise
would you make a film in?
What horror film would you make a film in if you that's a good question. If I knew I had to make a trilogy out of it, I think I would probably, and I'm not just saying this because I got Cecil on the show, I think Freddy lends himself to a possible trilogy. I don't think Michael does at all. You can do it, of course, and you can do it.
That's what they're doing, yeah.
And that's what they're doing, and you can do it with Jason. But I think the foundation for which the character of Freddy is more works better in that way.
It allows for more of an arc.
It allows for more of an arc, right? I think next would be Jason, and then last would be Michael, because I think Michael works best in the smaller doses, the one film, maybe the two films, Halloween 1 and 2, and then that's it, just because of the foundation for which he was created, the type of character he is. He's not this literal supernatural entity that can live on and, and on and on and on and on, and he doesn't speak, he doesn't talk, he's just sort of there. And I think a Michael film, although the Freddy films got tired too, I think a Michael film can run into that maybe a bit quicker. Mm-hmm. And I think Freddy has more room for, as Cecil said, an arc. So I would be curious to tackle that. If I knew I had to make 3 films, out of those 3, I'd probably want to pick Freddy.
Mm-hmm. I would say Freddy as well. Just you have so much more to work with when you have a protagonist or an antagonist that can talk and interact and have, an arc. Like I said, I think I just immediately go to my favorites. I would run into the same problem with these that I would with Michael or Jason, I think, but I've always loved Jaws and Tremors. Creature things. A trilogy of Jaws movies is tough because you have to kill the shark at the end of each of them. And the Graboid too, except they're kind of one-off slashers. You have to have something that you can make a juicy story out of. Halloween, they're doing it with Jamie Lee Curtis's character and all of her family and stuff, so they're not focusing on the big bad. But yeah, Freddy just is the easiest to do it. And I think would be the most fun as well.
Yep, I agree. But the one thing I would do with Freddy is I would have the Heather Langenkamp, Nancy Thompson, right? Thompson, yeah. Yeah. I would have her character, or whoever it is, right? I would want there to be an antagonist arc, but I would also want there to be a protagonist arc.
Sure.
So I wouldn't switch. I wouldn't then, as much as I love A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I love me some Elm Street 2. I wouldn't. That's one of the things that I felt sort of more so in Elm Street, because I think with the Friday films, they're clearly, unabashed B movie nonsense, and I say that in the most affectionate way. With Elm Street, you almost want more from these movies, from these characters, and that was one thing I found a little disjointing, was the switch. I would get emotionally attached, and then all of a sudden I'm asked to become emotionally attached to somebody else, and I found that hard to sort of get on board with. So I think if I was to do a trilogy, it would be a cohesive arc in terms of the main girl in the first movie would be in the second movie and would be in the third movie.
Right.
I would like to see that. I don't think that's something we've seen in Elm Street yet.
No, we had 2. There was a trilogy in Elm Street, 4, 5, and 3, 4, and 5, or basically a trilogy. Because you got Kristen into Alice, and then Alice's story finishing in the last one.
But a different actor as well, playing her in 4.
Well, Kristen, because of Patricia Arquette. Yeah,
that's right.
But they did do a sort of trilogy there, so it can be done. And I don't think, again, I think it's tailor made for it. I mean, I don't want to start pitching Freddy ideas to you again, as much fun as that is for me. But you could have an arc, you know, where the first you know, in the first one, again, she has all the issues, and then she blames Freddy at the end after defeating him, so she's thrown into an asylum for the second one, you know, and like has to convince people, and then more people are aware of it, so she's out, and then the third, you know, like there's a lot you could really do.
Oh yeah.
And it would be a really good time. So yeah, that's a great franchise to play in.
Yep, I could not agree more. Gary Rangel says, y'all have any plans to use other horror icons after Freddy to make fan films of? I don't. For me, the reason why I chose Black Christmas to do this kind of film. And again, I mean, I've done little Halloween amateur shorts on my, on my channel. That's not what It's Me Billy's going to be. It's Me Billy's going to be a la Dylan's New Nightmare, Never Hike in the Snow, Never Hike Alone, quality. Mm-hmm. And I chose Black Christmas to do that with because there was a void. There was a hole, and there's many reasons why. I mean, it's sort of a cult, sort of obscure kind of film that not a lot of people have seen, but it's a Canadian movie shot in Toronto, and I thought that me being Canadian from Toronto was really fun, and when we had this idea that we could extend the story, there was a terrible remake in 2006, there was another one just a few months ago, and it's like, hey, whatever happened? Now, I agree that the end of Black Christmas it's one of the best endings there is, because it's like, what happened? Like, oh my God, like, and you don't want to touch that, but we played around with, well, what if, what did happen? What if we just play around in this a little bit? And we got excited about it. So that's why I chose to do It's Me, Billy, because we kind of came up with this cool idea. And if it's successful, we have some ideas, which is really cool. And I just found that as much as I love Halloween and I love Michael Myers, he's my favorite, like Freddy is for Cecil. And there are some great Halloween fan films out there, 100%. It's a very saturated fan film market. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, I just don't want to play in that sandbox right now. It's just so saturated. Mm-hmm. And the feedback so far for It's Me, Billy, and Black Christmas has been really positive. We're like, oh, that's a good idea. That's something we haven't seen yet. You know what I mean? That's why I really like I forget the guy's name who's doing Charles.
Tony Biz.
Yes. Really, like, that's because we've yet to see sort of that.
I'm excited about that. I backed that one.
Yes. And what you're doing with Freddy, it's like, oh, okay, I kind of like, and I would say the most saturated out of them all, and it's different, like there's great ones, there's, backyard friends, ones is Halloween. It's just like everybody wants to get in on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You should, if you want to do it, you go do it, man, to make the best fucking Halloween fan film you possibly can. I don't want to deter you from doing that. But for me, that's the reason why I decided to go into Black Christmas, was because there was a void. It was something different, that you could bring to the table. And then when Cecil asked me to play Freddy, it was like icing on the cake. And I just was like, well, this is great. I can play in both of these worlds. And so my other answer would be Freddy, legitimately, again, not just because Cecil's on the show, but because of the untapped sort of market in terms of Freddy in that area, and I get to be Freddy, so I think I hit like the jackpot with those two things there. I don't know. How do you see it, man?
It's what specifically? Sorry, I lost track of the question.
The question was, do y'all have any plans to use any other horror icons after Freddy to make fan films of?
I at this point, I have so many Freddy fan film ideas, even outside of Dylan's New Nightmare. I could continue them, but I wouldn't. I would have to really think about it to decide if there was another icon that I'd be willing to do.
Do you know what I would love to do? And the logistics of this would be insane. And I know you would be on board, but the logistics would be insane. But I would love to do it because of the potential wow factor. If we pulled it off, would totally be Jaws.
Oh man, I've been crowing about that for a while. I have the very unpopular opinion of saying that I would actually be on board for a Jaws remake because we need a better shark. Your shark can't have jowls. the movie is an impeccable masterpiece. It's my favorite horror movie of all time besides The Thing. And it's just fantastic. It's the reason I don't like water that I can't see to the bottom of. And I sharks, I've been obsessed with them. I know everything about the great white. I know everything about the megalodon, its ancestor. And I would love, and the shallows. I loved the shallows. The shallows showed what we can do with technology for the shark, and it looked fucking great in my opinion. So I think it's time, I think it's time to and people are gonna be like, no, it's sacrilegious to even say that. It's like, dude, time marches on. The movie's almost 50 years old at this point.
It is. And here's what's so important. Jaws is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I agree with you. There are, and I've said this many times, there are moments in that movie where, yes, you can tell, the shark, but even still to this day, and this is actually, why it still to this day, it holds up pretty good. And one of the reasons for that is obviously because they had to utilize more of the theater of the mind because of the problem with Bruce, which is the mechanical name of the name of the mechanical shark, folks. Okay, I'm not talking about my buddy Bruce. And people are like, what the fuck with Bruce? What's going on? But there's wonderful moments in that movie. And the shark still looks really good in some scenes, And then there's some scenes where you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, it's a bit dated now. But for a shark movie, that's practical. It's still really, it holds up pretty good. Like that shot when they're in the pond and that guy's on the boat. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing over there? The shark. Oh my God.
When you see it come sideways.
Holy
It's the only time we ever see Jaws on his side. Bruce. Yeah. And the only time we ever see one of the sharks on their side in any of the movies.
It just looks terrifying. And the shot too with when they're on the beach and Alex Kintner, is that his name?
Kidner.
He's out in the water, and of course just boom, 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 boom. And it's the POV shot coming up, and then you see, from the beach, the raft go up, the blood spurting in the air with a couple of like dorsal fins kind of just turning over in the water, frightening as fuck. Like, I mean, imagine, like, what the fuck was that? How is that? I'm getting goosebumps even just talking about this, and it's just so frightening. And then of course the opening, right? One of the greatest shots in history with, of course, the girl treading water and the shot from just underneath her, boom, boom, just kind of, kind of coming up like that. Just, oh my God, beautifully. Like, to this day, one of the reasons why that film, because as you know, they wanted to show the shark a lot more and a lot more often.
The whole documentary is the shark is still not working or something like that.
That's right. And the fact that they were forced to not, I think, has propelled it to last as long as it has. But one of the most important things, sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but one of the most important things that is so important for a remake, if they were to do it, the crux of Jaws, the crux of the story of Jaws is not the shark. It's the relationship between the characters on screen. It's watching them and who they are. Because the shark was not on screen, when you are going to dangle the carrot, now they were forced to do that. Now it's become like known as the Jaws effect, but they were forced to do that. But if you're going to implement the Jaws effect in your movies, then you better make sure that your characters are really interesting and well developed, because when the antagonist is not on screen, you need something of interest. We need to be emotionally invested into your characters and the dynamics between them and what's going on when the big baddie's not there. And Jaws does that. Right. And Jaws does that beautifully. I am so invested into this relationship between, Quint and Martin and Hooper and the wife and then his kid and his son and it's just, it's so, and that's what a remake, just because you can, doesn't mean you should. That line from Jurassic Park. I get that you want to bring it up a notch and it's a remake, but invest in those characters. Make those characters really important. Really dynamic and interesting. Put the characters first and have the shark just there.
You know what I mean? Take it a step further, even, I would say that if they were going to do it, they would straight up have to avoid remaking certain scenes. You can't redo that opening. You can't. You got to do something else.
That's true. That's a good point.
You can't redo the show me the way to go home. You know, you can do
I'm
a
tired
version
and
of
I
it,
want to go to bed.
Yeah.
I had a little drink about an hour ago, but I got right to my head. Well, wherever I may roam, land or sea or home.
You can always show me the way to go home.
I'm putting water in here.
Yeah. But yeah, there's certain things you'd have to straight up. Oh, nice. There you go. Welcome to the shit show. Yeah, you'd have to avoid certain things. You just couldn't do certain things the same exact way, because then people would be like, oh my God, Spielberg did it so much better. Why are we even doing this?
100%.
You have to avoid that.
100%.
You might not even be able to do the Shark Hunter Quint. You might not be able to, because that is so ingrained in Jaws. Like, and then everyone's going to be like, oh my God, Robert Shaw just did it so much better. You're going to be fighting that the whole way. So you have to do it the way a remake should be done, which is differently. Don't give me the same exact movie with updated effects. You got to do different stuff.
What do you think about, and I know they made this movie already. It was with Nicolas Cage, I believe, which just, you know, but what if they, and I say this because I think it was just straight to, oh, here comes his secretary's about to come in now. No. Hand him another burrito.
This one's still here, so.
Oh, it's still there. Well, feel free to eat it on camera. I don't mind. If you're hungry, you're hungry, man. You don't want to let that thing get cold if it's hot or
it's oddly still warm. Very weird.
But is the USS Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. And that was, I believe Cage just did a version of that. But what if it was something like that, but really like a serious, you know, studio release film, but it's like a real mystery drama type thing that's in there. And I can just see when they're in the water, you know, that moment when they're in the water, it's earned, and you feel like you spend the majority of the movie, like you don't get them into the water in the first like act of the film. That comes towards like the end of the second act, beginning of the third act, because we spend this time, you know, developing these characters so that when it gets time to plunge them into the water, we feel something for them. We're really, and again, I have to say, I have not seen the Nicolas Cage straight to VOD one or Netflix or whatever the hell that was. I think
didn't even know he did that. That's weird.
I'm pretty sure he did. Let me just, I thought he did here. Let me just bring it up.
I would think the end of the second act is too late. I think the ship has to go down at the turn of the movie, right halfway.
So the halfway of the film?
Yeah, because you definitely need the time to learn to care about the characters that are going to start to get picked off by the sharks.
Right.
He did. I think you got to spend at least half the movie in the water. I mean, open water terrified people, and they were out there almost the entire movie. So I think you can do it.
But you see, what was great about open water is that it was done in a way that wasn't.
Found footage?
Yeah, was it found footage or was it? Because I remember seeing that.
I don't think it was. No,
I don't think it was. But man, that was good.
They didn't have the cameras and
right. Man, that was good though.
At night, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. The end really pissed me off. But it was good in theory, and there's a lot of cool stories you can build around that. And yeah, I agree. I think a big budget Indianapolis movie would be dope as fuck, and you could actually call that a Jaws movie at this point.
Well, yes, that's my point. Yeah, they did do one in 2016. Nicolas Cage was in it. Nicolas Cage, Tom Sizemore, Thomas Jane, James Remar. Directed by Mario Van Peebles. Mario
Van Peebles directed it?
Mario Van Peebles.
He was in Jaws 4. He was the Jamaican dude in Jaws 4.
Was he really? You're right, he was. Yes, he directed it. It's called USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage. It was also titled USS Indianapolis Disaster in the Philippine Sea.
That's weird. I've never heard of it. I didn't know that they called them the Men of Courage.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that deserves a
thank you. I didn't know we had a rim shot. I would have gone.
Yes, yeah, we do. We got a lot of stuff in here like this one.
Trick or treat.
motherfucker. Of course, that's me. That actually is not Busta Rhymes. That's me doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't even say it like that. Busta Rhymes, when you watch the movie, I think he goes, trick or treat, motherfucker. Kind of like that. And for some reason, I take it to like the next level, like he's having an aneurysm or something.
You got to do it. You got to deliver it how because to me, I always thought he forgot the line in the middle of it because he's like trick or treat, motherfucker, and he does his head movements because he looks up the first time, then he looks down, looks back up again for motherfucker. It's like
that's right.
That's right. Shit, what was the line? Motherfucker.
That's right. That's right. He's got an earpiece in his ear. They're like motherfucker, motherfucker, motherfucker. Yes, excuse me. Yes, that's right. No, it's not U.S. Indianapolis : colon men of courage. Well, it's all about colonoscopies, you see, and that's what they were doing.
Good looks.
Yes, that's. Yes, it's not what you think. It's a completely different type of movie. Yeah, that's a touche. That's funny. But yeah, he did one in 2016, USS Indianapolis: Men of Courage, and directed by Mario Van Peebles.
That's high quality caliber acting, man. Can he tread water at this point? I
don't know. So there is one. Now, I don't know if anybody, and here's the kicker. It cost $40 million to make.
Jesus, that's not cheap.
It's not cheap. $40 million to make, and it only made $1.6 million. So it was a total disaster. Total disaster. It was amazing. It's my favorite movie. I love Nicolas Cage. Okay, it's great.
I hear enough of that
guy. Let me see here.
I think we missed a super chat.
Did we miss a super chat? We might have. Let me go back.
Brandon Barry, I think.
Yes, yeah. Brandon Barry. Thank you, Brandon. Says, we need a Candyman fan film. So many ideas. Candyman fan film.
That did cross my mind for that trilogy question. But right. I think it's in the right hands. I think that trailer looks amazing. I think it looks great. They're continuing the continuity. I honestly think it's better to be handled by the hands that it's in right now, as opposed to, you know what I mean? Like I think having that perspective of Black filmmakers, I think makes would have a tremendous impact, especially now
100%
with Peele proving what can be done between the other two that he's made, you know?
Yeah. I like the trailer a lot. It reminded me very much of the trailer for Us in terms of, utilizing a common pop song and making it fit, the narrative, a song and making it fit, the narrative and whatnot. Jordan Peele, although he's not directing Candyman, Jordan Peele for me is 1 and 1. And it's kind of ironic because I really liked Get Out. I loved it a lot. Us, I didn't like as much as I was hoping. And sorry?
I didn't either. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. And I say it's ironic because I think that, we know that having more Black actors, directors, raising the bar for people, more opportunities and all that kind of stuff is a big thing. And I totally support that 100%. So, and it's ironic because what I did love about Us, what I did really like about it, was that this could be happening to any family, an Asian family, a Black family, a white family. And the family being Black, as far as I can remember, to be fair, I've only seen the movie once, unless there's something I missed. The family being Black wasn't integral to the story. It was just, they were just a Black family. Sure. And that doesn't mean that there may not have been a little sort of nuanced, symbolism there. Right, exactly. But overall, I really enjoyed that because that's really, in my opinion, that's really how you lift people up. Is you show that we're in this together. We're making movies. We're just like everybody else. Put them in. Like I love that. I love watching that. This could happen to anybody. The family just happens to be Black. And that's awesome. I love that. And that doesn't mean that movies about Black history and culture is not important and should not be there either. 100%, absolutely. But it's so wonderful to see a film that doesn't tap into the stereotypes, you know, that doesn't, like, it's not Barbershop Part 9, you know, or something like that, right? Like it's really just, it's showing, I really like that about us. And that's why I say it's ironic, because I didn't really like the movie all that much. Right. But with Get Out, I liked it more, and it's ironic because the racial subtext was not so subtext.
You're right, more on Front Street, yeah.
More on the nose. And I don't know what rock I was under prior to that film, but I put it in, and I had no idea that it was going to be like that. So as soon as it started to kind of go there, in my mind, I was like, okay, let's pull this back. Like, I get it, but don't be so, you know, but they were able to make it to the end, and I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. Because there was enough going on there that I really found interesting, creepy, surprising, you know, well, and I enjoyed it.
Tie in with where the movie goes.
Right, exactly.
You need it on Front Street in order for the third act reveal to kind of really have, I mean, it would have been impactful, but it's like, that is just literally the physical representation of all of the other stuff that they were putting out there, you know. So.
Exactly. So Jordan Peele for me is 1 and 1. Now again, he hasn't directed Candyman.
Right. That's
he's been a producer.
I forgot Mia's last name, but
but I'm really looking forward to seeing it. But I'm cautiously optimistic, because the trailer for Us had me really intrigued too. Like, wow, this is going to be, and I was like, okay, you know. And
Candyman, you can hang your hat on Candyman a little bit easier than an unknown property.
And that's true. That is true. That is true. That is true. And I like that it's an extension, but I gather that it will also probably act as sort of a soft reboot, very much sort of like what Halloween Kills was. Oh, sorry, Halloween 2018. Yeah, where it's a sequel, but you can watch it without having ever watched the original anyway. And I gather that might be sort of like what they're doing with Candyman, that it's a sort of a sequel, but you don't necessarily have had to have seen the others. I suspect that, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I that's the impression I'm getting as well. It's going to work on its own, but even in the trailer, you saw that the actress from the first one is back. You know,
that's right. That's right.
It's cool. It's really interesting. I'm excited about it. So
100%. Cavern of Terror sends in a super chat. Thank you, Cavern of Terror. Appreciate it. Says, here's a question for Cecil. What was the process for the tiers for your Indiegogo? How did you find the people that would make a Blu-ray, VHS, etc.? I'll let you answer that.
That's simply, you know, Vince has run a couple of campaigns, so I can just piggyback on a lot of the vendors that I went to the same place for Creative Terror pins, I think is what they're called. So the pins for our campaign, same place that he gets the Never Hike Alone pins. It's just knowing, you know, and having Vince's recommendations and connections. I haven't even done that yet in all honesty, because we don't have a movie to put on Blu-ray yet. So we need to finish all that before I worry about those details, but we have money allotted for it to handle it. And so we know how many we need. So we have that taken care of. But yeah, it's just there's a bunch of people online. In fact, there's one person that requested a steelbook, and I'm going to have like 3 steelbooks made, because I want one too if I'm going to have one made for someone else.
Fuck, I want one now.
Yeah. So I'm there's you can get anything made online. You just got to Google and find the right people, and you'll be able to get what you need done.
Right. There you go. Great answer. Darren Sands says, sorry, folks, apologies for the spammer. Should be gone for a while. Oh, there was a spammer going on?
Yeah.
Spammer. Well, that's what my mods are there for. The mods taking people down. Anyway. Let's see here. Zach Axiola says, Dave McRae, thoughts on Anaconda from 1997 starring Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube. I actually really liked that movie when it came out.
Guilty pleasure, yeah. It's same with Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, yes. Do you remember when Samuel L. Jackson is like, now listen, and then the shark comes up and just like,
yeah, dude, it sticks in everyone's mind for that. But I like that movie for a lot of reasons. Obviously, sharks.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know you were such a shark guy. That's awesome.
Oh my God,
I love great white sharks.
Oh, dude, I have books upon books about them. That's why the Meg movie was such a disappointment, but I've read all those books. I've had that author on my show twice. I love sharks so
Amazing.
much. Especially
very
great
cool.
white.
Very
I
cool.
can't wait. Eventually, I'm going to do the cage dive. I got to get in the water with a great white before I die. I got to do it. I'm going to do it.
Well, there's a lot of ocean in Phoenix, so
I know I got to travel with it, but
well, you just
I looked into it, and it's only like $2,500 to do a whole thing.
Really?
To somewhere where they do that. Yeah, it's
wow,
not that bad.
That's actually a lot less than I thought it was going. I thought this would be like
in about 10 years. That's the last time I checked. So it might have gone up since.
It might have gone up. It might. I don't know how I would. Man, how would I feel in a cage in a scuba gear?
Are so different now. I'm a scuba diver. I'm an open water diver. So I got that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Cool. Yeah, no, I'm not. I can swim, obviously, but I'm not a trained diver. But that's really cool. I'm just trying to think of myself. I'd be like getting in there and I'd be pulling a Matt Hooper. I'd be like, I got no spit.
Yeah.
I got no spit. I'd be like, fuck, I'm done.
But as a YouTuber in you wouldn't be able to. You'd have to take a camera down there to get it.
Yeah, of course. I'd have to do that. 100%.
I should consider that just for the video.
You should. GoPro right down there, underwater cam sitting there, and then have moments where you're like,
pull my regulator out.
Yeah. You find out you're just doing it in somebody's pool, and The Film Addict says, "Hey Cecil, who is your favorite Batman? Are you also looking forward to the Batman? Sucks they had to shut down production."
I don't know if this is a cop-out answer, but Kevin Conroy is my Batman.
Oh, voiceover, yeah. Kevin Conroy.
He epitomized the Bruce Wayne Batman voice differences and characterization. He obviously had the most time of everyone,
right?
But otherwise, if I had to go live action, I would say I still feel like George Clooney might have been the best Bruce Wayne. Definitely the worst Batman, but that's up until I actually think Christian Bale did a good job with Bruce in that one scene where he's in the restaurant and he buys the restaurant so they can get in the water or something like that. That was very, very, very Bruce Wayne, but he was a shitty Batman. His bat voice was just the worst. I liked Ben Affleck's Batman as the Dark Knight Returns Batman, but not as honestly, Michael Keaton did a great job as a live action straight Batman. But yeah, it's weird. But that's why I have so many. Well, but there's this, but there's this. I don't have any of that with Kevin Conroy. So I just think he's the best.
Interesting. Great question. Robert Thidoff says, "Have any of you seen Natalie Wood's last Brainstorm? Great movie." No, I haven't.
Nope.
I haven't seen it. MSO54 says, "Dave, love the toilet paper Stanley Cup photo. Thank you." Hey man, around here, I was like, "Give me that fucking." I got 30 rolls. I waited
at Target an hour before they opened to get mine.
Wow. I walked in and I heard, "Attention shoppers, toilet paper," and I'm just like, "I'm there!" Running down the aisle, and they just gave me a pack of 30, and I'm like, "Great, this should last me it should last me a while." I mean, I'm not going through a toilet paper a day, so.
Are you gonna stay inside me a month? Hey, what are you doing? You got the TP in the houses around your neighborhood? What's going on?
Vegas Courier says, "Dave, your masks look creepy with the light on them, especially the H18. Oh yeah, I have. I normally have this lamp turned off, but for some reason I forgot to turn it off before I went live, so I figured I'll just leave it on. Let's see. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any super chats, because sometimes, have you noticed, Cecil, that in the chat room, you'll see some super chats will show up, but others won't. And then you'll have to go to your live sort of window where you start I've noticed that sometimes they'll show up and sometimes they won't in the chat. Because sometimes people will say, "I sent in a super chat." I'm like, "I don't see it." And I scroll back and don't see it. But when I go back to the other window, it's there.
We don't get a ton of super chats and we don't do a ton of live. So I haven't really experienced
noticed that. Okay, yeah. Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm up to date in the super chats, which is good. Just double checking. Jonathan Nichols says, "Dave, have you seen The Hunt yet?" I haven't yet. Have you seen The Hunt yet?
I did. Yeah, we did a review. That was the last movie we saw in the theater. We went on the Thursday, a few days before they closed everything down. So, It's fun, but nothing lives up to the first act. It's such a wild first act that they can't continue with that level. So it like starts way up here and then it just kind of like tapers down kind of the rest of the movie.
Gotcha. Let's see here. The Manhammer AR-15 says, Sir Dave, I love it, Sir Dave. I've been knighted. In regards to It's Me, Willie.
I love that. It's me, Willie.
It's me, Willie. It's me, Willie. Can you imagine? What is his weapon of choice? I don't think. Yeah. That's a great question. I was just gonna say the phone. Yeah, because he doesn't really have a weapon of choice per se. I mean, again, It's Me, Billy, or it's Me, Willie, is a direct sequel to the original, set decades later. So maybe a cane, maybe arthritis might be his weapon. No. Viagra.
The protagonists just have to do this to win.
That's right. Viagra is his weapon of. That's right. No, I get asked. I get asked too, what would, how old would he be now? And I'm like, well, let's say, because it was never really established how old he was in the original. So let's say, the girls are college age. Let's say they're 19, 20, 21, 22, kind of somewhere in there. Let's say Billy was, 22, 23, let's say, so he would be, 60, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. He'd be like probably his late 60s, 46, 47 years later, maybe 68, 69, something like that, whatever. Still capable to be a little creepy and a little aggressive when necessary. But yeah, I'm not sure. I would say I would raise that and agree with that. His telephone. That doesn't mean he's going to kill people with the telephone, but
James Jude Courtney set a new bar for old killers in 2018.
That's true.
So
that's true.
You can be in your 60s and still be a badass.
100%. So yeah, it's me, Willie. It's me, Willie. Toronto Freddy sends in a super chat. Thank you, Toronto Freddy. Great cosplayer here in Toronto as Freddy Krueger. Dave, I watched the night he came back home again and noticed your lead girl's real name is Leah Keller. I wonder if she's a distant relative of mine. I don't know. I'll have to ask. Yeah, could be distant. You never know. Very distant. I'm not sure. It depends on AR. You're AR too, aren't you? Because there's ER and there's AR. So maybe you never know. It's entirely possible. Zach Axiola says, Dave, what's your favorite on and off screen kill from Halloween 2018? On screen, I would think my favorite on screen kill would probably be, I'm going to say, this is not going to be one you're going to, I'm going to say the kid in the pickup truck. Just because I thought that was a scene that probably instilled some genuine suspense. That whole scene leading up to that. I rarely felt genuine suspense in that movie because, so I would say that's probably my favorite on screen. My favorite off screen would probably be that or Oscar's death. But my favorite off-screen kill would probably be when the camera pans around and we see the guy, the garage maintenance guy or whatever, and his jaw kind of turned away. I'd probably say, or actually that, or going back to the bus accident again when I think it was Hawkins comes up onto one of the state trooper guys or whatever, and he's there with his neck bent all the way back, and he's just kind of like, it's just his mouth. Kind of like this, and his neck is like bent all. It's really creepy and eerie. I'd say that. What about you, Cecil?
I've only seen the movie once, so I don't remember what actual kills we saw. But
I've only seen it twice.
That aftermath one with the dude's jaw always stuck with me because distended jaws always disturb me.
Yeah,
like elongated jaws, distended jaws. It's always fucked with me. But since you got that one, I would say the jack-o'-lantern kill was great. Yeah. Although that had been done 10 years prior in one of the Halloween comics.
Yep.
So I was like, they just took that kill from the Halloween comics.
For sure.
But yeah, so I'm excited about the gore in this one from what I'm hearing, though.
Yeah. I hear there's going to be a lot of gore. There's no, as soon as they announced that the name was going to be Halloween Kills, come on. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's be honest here. Right. It's going to be high octane, a lot of kills, high body count, because I think that even though it's the technically the third part, they're structuring these three films like its own trilogy, even though technically it's a quadrilogy. Right. So I think that this is your second act. I think this is not going to bode well for the people in the movie. I think that I've been saying this for months. I think that Laurie will hardly be in it. I think she will spend most of her time at the hospital, and the vast majority of the movie will be about sort of the vigilante justice sort of thing between Tommy and Lindsay and Brackett and Marion. And, I think there's going to be a focus on that. And then the climax will sort of veer towards the hospital perhaps, and maybe do that. Now, again, no one's told me that. That's just looking at sort of the movie and the title and sort of where we left off, where we're at. There's no doubt that it's going to pick up where the first one left off, more than likely. I don't think that's rocket science. And I think it's going to be about Tommy and Lindsay following these characters, understanding where they've been, what sort of residual effects they have dealt with over the years, how did the 78 experience affect them, and then sort of they're out trying to find Michael Myers, and then it all leads to the hospital or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe not, but that's kind of what I speculate based on what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is going to pick up right where it leaves off, or the last one left off, but I think my theory, and I don't have, CP did not confirm or deny this because I didn't want him to, but my theory is that since so many people got pissed about Karen's turn in the last one when she was like all wimpy and then suddenly she kicked Michael's ass, I think they're going to course correct and Michael's going to kill her by the end, leaving Jamie Lee Curtis and the granddaughter so that Jamie Lee can die at the end of Ends and the granddaughter can sort of carry on the Strode legacy at that point.
Interesting.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Interesting.
No one liked Judy Greer in the last one. Not many people did.
Yeah.
So I think they'll off her and kill two birds with one stone, so to speak.
I just think it was unnecessary. I think maybe it was unnecessary. Yeah, I didn't like. I like Judy Greer.
I like her a lot as an actress, but I didn't. It was not good.
100%. It felt it. I just didn't. Anyway, I can.
So that's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. Let's see here. There was a Jason Wiley says, Cecil and Dave, how would you both like to be killed in a horror film? I would like to be killed. It's got to be memorable. It can't be one of those like I'm walking down the street and all of a sudden, and then it cuts away. Like, not. It's got to be, maybe they make a fake head of mine, and maybe my head's chopped off and it rolls away, but the brain stem is still connected, to the consciousness or something. It's still kind of there. Like there's a residual effect. And I'm like, or something. I don't know. It's something that's I gotta go out in a blaze of, or maybe I'm on fire and I'm going down. I'm fucking beating Jason Voorhees or something. I'm on fire and I'm like, and I'm melting. My skin's melting, whatever. Some epic way. I don't know. What about you?
I would say you could go a couple different ways. I've always had the opinion that I'm probably going to die getting eaten by something because I'm so scared of it. Either by a shark. Like I've literally had the weirdest thoughts regarding all of that stuff. So it's
fascinating.
Like I was like, I had a dream once where I was diving off of a boat just in time for a shark to come up, and I literally just dove straight down its gullet. And so now you're just waiting to get digested in a shark's belly. But it's just so I think getting eaten by something, a creature of some kind, would make sense for me. Or if you really want to tap into some real ass acting, have me die in a claustrophobic situation. Like, ooh, I hate those bits in movies where
like an elevator
crawling through caves. Ooh. And like the stuff that you can't, like there was a moment in a recent Walking Dead, like 2 episodes ago, where they're trying to escape a cave and there's a big dude like me and he gets stuck at one point with zombies nipping at his heels. And it's like it's the getting stuck is more frightening to me than anything else. Like, being stuck somewhere where no one can get to me, where I can't move because being such a big guy, it's terrifying to me. So if you want to see me legitimately freak the fuck out, then do that as my death.
Claustrophobic. That's that. and you die. You just die waiting.
Yeah, or just with just driving yourself insane with the lack of hope.
You know what type of claustrophobia? And I think we're all claustrophobic to a degree, but what type of claustrophobia really gets me is more around it's around here, like when that movie 127 Hours, right? Mm-hmm. When he had his arms, that's not really claustrophobic per se, but he could move. It's the tight spaces. Yeah, 100%. I guess that's the definition of claustrophobia. Yes. Yeah, where you're just kind of like this and you can't move your legs or something. It's
can't get purchase to or momentum to like bust out because you just don't have room to move.
Right. You know? Oh my God. Like I experienced some heebie-jeebies watching The Descent for the first time years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, where it was like, oh man, that's just crazy insane. That
Ryan Reynolds movie Buried is actually quite good about
it. Is good.
Oh man, that shit got to me. I don't like that.
That is good. If you guys haven't seen Buried with Ryan Reynolds, check it out. He's buried alive, and the whole movie takes place within the confines of this coffin.
Tremendous ending too.
Yep, really, really good. Let's see here. Edwin A. Sordo says, "What's good, Dave and Cecil? Have you seen the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy with Andy Serkis? I think it's underrated. I saw the first one in the theater back in 2011, and I have to admit." And it's not because I didn't want to. I just haven't gotten around to it. I haven't seen the other two.
I don't think it's underrated at all. I think most people that saw it love it. I think maybe not that many people saw it, but I have not heard anyone say bad things about it. In fact, I've heard most people say, even people that aren't into the Apes movies, like myself, I did not like the originals because I can't get past the makeup. But these were
really interesting,
incredible. Yeah,
I really liked the first one.
Granted, I haven't watched them all the way through because one of the movies all the way through because I just can't get past the makeup. But even the Tim
Burton one, I liked that one. Yeah. I thought it was good. I can't
get past the makeup.
Oh, really?
I thought the story was dumb. Like, this was great. This was the way that I wanted to see the ape movies kind of happen. And I loved them. Yeah. So I don't think they're underrated at all. I think they're very highly rated, just maybe not enough people talk about it.
I think the War for the Planet of the Apes is the one that sort of threw some people off because they were under the impression that when you have war in the title of your movie, that it was going to be a high octane, action packed, thrill ride. And from my understanding, for those that have seen it, you can, confirm this or deny it. It wasn't like that. And there was
some big action in it. Yeah.
Was there? Because there were some people that said that it wasn't what they had expected in terms of the war part, and but I don't know. I haven't seen it.
They were hoping for a giant mass scale humans versus apes, and this is the movie really just focuses on one contingent of ape that have developed, and how that it's not really a world war thing. So it makes, trust me, for the movie continuity, it makes 100% sense.
Maybe that's what people were thinking. I did like the first one. So I really got to watch.
The first is actually the weakest of them. So if you like the first one, you would definitely like the next two.
Oh, great. Then I can't wait to see them both. Jim Dorsey says, best of luck on It's Me, Willie. And great. People are just going to start. And Bill's new nightmare. Billy's new nightmare. Thank you, Jim. Let me see. Let me scroll back. Hey, I'm switching windows, make sure I didn't miss anything. No, Toronto Freddy was the last super chat. Okay, good. Let's see here. Robert Thidoff says, what movie deserved a sequel, but a sequel was never made? Deserved a sequel.
Oh, yeah. I like this question. I've thought about this before. I think The Frighteners. I would have loved to have seen more Frighteners. Because that's such a cool, fun little horror comedic universe that is set up for episodic. He's an investigator. Right. Every movie is a new investigation into something paranormal with his ghost sidekicks. Right. I think that was tremendous, and I would have loved to have seen more Frighteners movies.
That's a good one.
Peter Jackson too.
Peter Jackson. Yep. Is that the one with Michael J. Fox?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It is the one I'm thinking that. I would say, burrito time. I would say,
sorry, I'm gonna turn those off.
No, it doesn't
Should have done that a while ago.
I would say, deserved a sequel, but didn't deserve. I wanted to see a sequel. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I'm having trouble thinking off the top of my head. What would a standalone movie that never got a sequel that I wish had got a sequel? I would say, okay, I this is all I got right now, and it's not because I wanted a sequel, but I just thought the name for the sequel was smart, and there never was one. They never did do one, and I don't think they should do one now for a variety of reasons. But when Spaceballs came out in 1987, and Spaceballs, even at the time, it didn't do very well. It became sort of cult classic in VHS, home movie, and TV because it was 4 years removed from Return of the Jedi. So it was kind of like, past its sort of like nobody cared about it anymore. But I like that movie so much so that I can recite the, what the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie? Now, everything that happens now is happening now. What happened to then? We passed then. When? Just now. We're at now. Go back to then. When? Now. I can't. Why? We missed it. When? Just now. When will then be now? Soon. You remember those things. It's so funny, as a kid. And I remember that they were, obviously there was in the movie, they had an idea for a sequel called, The Search for More Money, right? Mm-hmm. Based on what they're talking about. But there was a rumor going around in the early to mid 90s that they were going to do one called Spaceballs 3 in Search of 2. And I just thought that was just a genius idea. Hilarious. I thought that was really funny. And I was kind of excited about it. I was like, that's funny. Like, that's really funny. And it was prior to John Candy passing away in 1994. So this must have been like 91, 92 maybe. And I thought it was funny, but of course they never did it. Now, Take that with a grain of salt. I'm not suggesting that is one that definitely needs a sequel. That's my movie that's the only one I can think of right now. I got to think of, I don't know. It's a good question.
Tony Robinson had a good one. I think The Final Girls I loved The Final Girls. So I think that's right for a sequel too. Fantastic horror comedy.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Oh my God, Dave, you gotta watch it. It's so good, and it sends up horror movies so well, and it's fucking hilarious. And
I gotta see that.
You really, really, really do. 2 words for you: Adderall striptease. It's so fucking funny, dude.
Oh my God. Okay, I definitely. I will. How old is it?
It's 2015. It was my favorite. It was my favorite horror movie of 2015.
Why did this slip by me?
It's up there with Tucker and Dale as far as horror comedy goes, and it's just so the premise. Just so you know, it's about a group of horror film lovers that go to a special screening of a Jason-esque movie, right? But a fire breaks out, and the characters they try and escape through the screen, but when they do, they actually enter the movie, and so they're in a Friday the 13th kind of send up. It's so fucking good.
How the fuck did I miss this?
Dude, it's amazing. I would love, if you watch it, if you wanted to do a commentary or something, like I would love to watch you watch it. It's so much fun.
This might be fun. You know what? I would be down for doing that.
That so would be fun to do. It's so worth it. And it actually, honestly, it's what's funny. It made me cry twice when I first watched it. And when I showed it to my sister's family when I was out in Texas a couple of years back. And my sister, who was like in her late 30s at the time with 3 kids, started crying at the end too. She was like, really? I can't believe this is making me cry. It's just so good.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, maybe we'll do that. That would be fun to do. That'd be fun to do for sure. Nick says Mel Brooks is waiting for Rick Moranis to do a sequel. Rightfully so. Moranis was the best part of Spaceballs. I don't think so. I think now Mel Brooks I don't think he has any desire to revisit Spaceballs. I mean, maybe 25 years ago, but now
he mentioned it as recent as a year or two ago.
He did because of the whole Star Wars sort of, rebirth with The Force Awakens and all that kind of stuff. I remember that, but I would be stunned if Mel Brooks at his age right now decides to do a Spaceballs 2, whether it's The Search for More Money or 3 in Search of 2. I just don't think we're going to get it. I just don't think there's a demand for it. I mean, maybe right to streaming, right to Netflix or something, maybe, but I don't think you release that shit in theaters.
You'd have to do like The Search for the Reboot or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
In this day and age, you'd have to.
Yeah, I just think it's done. It's past its sort of.
Yeah.
It's done.
Unfortunately, yeah, with the lack of, I mean, not just John Candy, Joan Rivers.
That's right.
Dot, right? She was fantastic as Dot. Yeah, Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, I was about to say Bill Pullman, but no, it was Bill Paxton that passed away.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Bill Pullman.
I'm sure
or
that's
Paxton?
been happening. It's been happening to both those guys their entire lives.
100%. Is it Pullman or Paxton? Yeah. Paxton or Pullman? Well, there's a joke about that, right? So, yeah. The Film Addict says, thoughts on Birdman. I really liked Birdman.
Great.
Really liked it.
Love ambitious one-shot kind of movies.
Yeah,
love those.
And what's so great about it is, I mean, obviously the film wasn't shot in one shot,
right?
But the way they were able to piece it together to create the illusion that it was phenomenal.
Same with 1917. I adore when filmmakers can do that. It's just
I've yet to see 1917, and that's one of the reasons why I want to see it, is because it gives the illusion that it's just one shot, and that's Roger Deakins too, right? I mean, one of the greatest cinematographers of all time. Yeah. And to be able to implement, and again, it's a collaborative effort. I mean, it's not just him, obviously, but to be able to, Sam Mendes and Deakins, to be able to work together and figure that out. And, their team is just, it really excites me to see it. So I think is it streaming now? If it's not, it's almost.
It just came out on DVD, so yeah, I think it is.
So it must be. Okay, yeah, I got to watch that. Super chat from Mystery Emoji Films. Thank you, buddy. Says, Dave, you have to see The Warriors as soon as possible. Yeah, the other day I said I hadn't seen The Warriors from 1979, I think.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'll have to check it out.
All I know is Warriors, come out and play.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Dream Warriors.
No. I think this one was actually from the Warriors. That's like all I know from the Warriors movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Let me see here. We'll go a little bit longer, maybe another 10 minutes or so, because I have things I have to do this afternoon. Unfortunately, I was delayed. Unfortunately, we'll have to cut it. Well, we're still about an hour and a half, though. It's not too bad. Yeah. But yeah, I lost about 40 minutes because of YouTube. Let me see. Tony Robinson says, how would you guys feel if Death by Daylight was turned into a movie?
I think they mean Dead by Daylight.
I was just going to say, Death by Daylight? I haven't heard of that.
Do you know what Dead by Daylight is?
Yes, I do. How would I feel if it was turned into a movie? I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, that's an interesting question, because there's a lot of sort of out of the box. Yeah, but there's a lot of out of the box sort of things you could do with that, which is interesting.
It's the easiest way to turn it, or by the same association, the Friday the 13th game, or by the same association, the Predator game that comes out in a couple of weeks. Right. They're doing the same thing, where you can be the military guys trying to take out the Predator, or the Predator trying to take out the military guys.
Right.
So I think the only way to really make that into a movie would be to make it an arena style movie where people are kidnapped at the beginning and they just wake up and they have to be in this gladiatorial thing where there's viewers watching while one slasher seeks out a bunch of other ones, which is kind of what they did in the Furies. Right. So that's already been touched on a little bit. So, right. I mean, it would work, but you have to rework it, because just one slasher killing victims, you have to add a story to that. So.
Right. CD Scale Model says, sorry about earlier, Dave. My luck. No worries. It's not your fault. The live stream cut off as you were talking about Terror Train. Not a masterpiece by any means. It did have some eerie quality. Yes, the Groucho mask disturbs it. Yeah, Terror Train, of course, is the early 80s. I think 82 or 3 or something like that. Jamie Lee Curtis movie. I have it. I watched it. It's one that people tend not to think of when they think of Jamie Lee Curtis in horror. You tend to think of Halloween 2, The Fog. But it's worth a watch. I mean, if you're a big Jamie fan and you like her in horror movies, and you kind of watch Terror Train. But I haven't revisited it since the last time I saw it, which was probably about 10 years ago. It's not one of my favorites. But
I've never seen it.
Yeah, but if you like it, that's good. Why not? Let's see. Let me scroll back, see if there's some people that I haven't got. We'll take this to a few more minutes, because I got to skedaddle soon. The Ankh Warrior 83? The Ankh, I think that's how you say that. How you say that. Dave and Cecil, have you guys seen The Exorcist 3? And if so, what are your thoughts? Oh, yeah, not in a long time.
Same.
But I really liked The Exorcist 3. But I'm a big George C. Scott fan too, so.
I tell you what, I haven't watched it in a really long time, but if I might give a plug to a friend of the show, Emily's Adventures in Horrorland,
yes,
CP's wife, she did an Exorcist 3 review where she really broke it down, and I was like, damn, this seems like a really good Exorcist movie. I need to revisit it. She loved it, and it's more of a crime thriller than an actual standard Exorcist movie. So yeah, I want to revisit it, but if you guys want, check out Emily's Adventures in Horrorland's review of Exorcist 3. It was a really good one.
Cool. Ethan LeBlanc sends a super chat. Thank you, Ethan. You demand, stay sharp. I'm demand. Well, thank you, buddy. Oliver Mercer says, have you guys seen the 9th Configuration film directed by William Peter Blatty? I have not. Of course, William Peter Blatty directed The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, I believe, right? Was it him? Was that Franklin? No, was that him? Or was he
the original?
Writer? No. He's the author of The Exorcist.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? William Peter Blatty is the author of The Exorcist, right? I think.
I don't know that. I couldn't say. If I said yes, I would be talking out of my ass.
The Exorcist. I am Franklin. No, am I right? No, William. Yes, Friedkin is the director.
Yeah, Billy Friedkin.
Right. Okay. Yeah, just got to make sure. No, I haven't.
Friedkin's a dick, apparently.
Billy, is he really?
He was a fucking asshole of a director, because he that there was a scene where the mom gets pulled, right? Or get thrown back against the wall. Yep. And one of the big stories is she was getting pulled, and she's like, I can't keep doing this. It's hurting my back. You got to stop. And he's like, okay, we'll go really easy on you. And he went back around and told the people, he's like, yank the shit out of her this time. And
really?
That's what he did. And she got like injured from it, but that's the take they used in the movie.
What a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I didn't know that. See, you learn something new
Billy
every day,
Friedkin's a kind of a dickhead.
He looks like a dick. Like, I know you can't judge a book by its cover, but you know how some people just look like dicks? They just have a certain look to their face, like a very punchable face.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of guy you want to slap around, like slap in the face, punch. You know, it's just some people look like dicks. You know, it's like when you go.
Some people are very punchable, as you're not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure some people think I'm punchable.
Oh, dude, I'm sure I'm on a lot of people's lists.
All right, two more questions. Let me see. Two more questions. Let's see here. Vegas Courier says, what would you think of another Blob movie or remake now? Sam Jackson and I think Halle Berry are said to star in it. They are making a Blob movie, aren't they? I thought they were.
I think that's what he's saying. He
says that is what he's saying.
Sam Jackson and Halle Berry are said to star in it.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, the original there's a couple of Blob movies. There's an old one, then there's one from the 80s, I think.
Yeah, there's the 60s, there's the 1988, and then there's a sequel to the 1988.
Okay. Sure. Why not? I mean, this is very B movie territory, but I don't know. I mean, to see Samuel L. Jackson swear at a blob. Get
this motherfucking blob off my motherfucking street.
That's right. That's right. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm the Blob in the 80s. Fuego and I go back and forth. That's his favorite horror movie.
Wow.
Mine is The Thing. Both big effects horror movies.
Yes.
And we're actually planning to do a Blob commentary that was a patron request soon, because I haven't revisited the movie in a long time, so I'm excited to. But I'm always down. The Blob at its core is a creature movie, so I'm always down for more creature movies. They're my favorite subsect of horror.
For sure.
Of course, give me all the creatures.
For sure. But you know what I want. What they have to do with the Blob, though, is they have to know exactly what it is. Now, can you reimagine something for a new audience and make us look at something in a different way? Yes, but you always run the risk of that falling flat. I mean, that's always a risk, because the Blob is so identified with, you know, drive-in B-movie theater, you know, and it's, as, you know, Cecil said, it's a creature feature. And my worry is, like, I think Samuel L. Jackson and how it's probably smart casting, actually, because Samuel L. Jackson brings an air of sort of whimsy and satire to it. You know, it's satirical. You know, I don't think you could ever make a serious Blob movie, you know, where it's like a serious, you know, like we're just fucking, this is a serious movie, you know, just because of the nature of the film, you know, the nature of the Blob and its history. I mean,
it's even harder to swallow than your standard creature feature.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So my only concern would be going into it that they don't try to sell us that this is fucking legit. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, I don't know. I mean, the movie The Blob, I mean, it's just kind of, I don't know, but I'm always open to be proven wrong. You just
and nowadays you could, I don't know. I would think that nowadays, if they're going to do it, you'd almost have to approach it not as like the blob from space, but like it's an environmental consequence.
Right.
Like it's all the garbage getting up and starting to take us out or something like that.
Or it's almost like a, and dare I say it, even because what we're going through now, it's almost like a virus that has somehow, that's the science part, but then you add a little fiction into your science fiction that this virus has somehow been able to manifest into a tangible sort of, kind
like
of
the
thing.
Hate slime in Ghostbusters 2.
Yes. 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 And you put it in toasters and watch it dance. And
exactly. It's like, this blob isn't scary. We can make a YouTube video with
Exactly. And I just realized instantly by saying that and you saying that how much back we're into B-movie territory. All right. Last question of the afternoon, folks. Let's see here. One more question. Give you a couple of seconds here to fire those in. I see some. Let's see this. Okay, that's good. I see some people. I just like to let a few go and see what's going on. Okay, here we'll have this as the last one. Bernie Gambano says, Dave and Cecil, if you haven't, you guys should check out. Well, this isn't really a question, so I'll answer another question. Check out The Outsider. It was damn good. I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen The Outsider?
Yep, watched it all, and we were just waiting on Fuego to finish it since it's a Stephen King property, and then. Once we actually gather again, we'll be able to finally review it. Him, myself, and Marcia. Marcia and I watched it. Fuego, the King guy, didn't finish it yet. So
awesome.
We'll get that. It was great though. Honestly, it did slow down in the middle because it's 10 episodes.
Is that the one with 6? Is that the one with Jason Bateman? No, that's it is. It is.
And Ben Mendelsohn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yep. I definitely want to check that out. All right. I'll scroll back and see if we get one here. Let me see. Somebody else like looking for people that I don't usually ask. Here's one. Travis Lauderbaugh. I always get your name mixed up. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, here I go again. Dave and Cecil, have you seen Terrifier? Watched it for the first time recently. It was one wild slasher and great for a budget of $100,000. I have not seen it yet, and I keep saying I'm going to, and I never get around to it, and I feel bad saying that because I met the director, one of the producers, Michael Levy, at the 40th anniversary convention, and his production company, Fuzz on the Lens Productions, is helping to produce the sequel. So I always feel bad because I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta watch it. Forget, I got so much shit going on. So I haven't seen it yet, but it looks like it's going to be a fun B movie sort of just time.
Don't expect story or character development. It's literally just a dude killing people, and that's
great.
I'll
pop it on a Sunday afternoon.
It's not. Some people don't like it because of that, but in my opinion, I don't think every slasher needs to have the deepest character. Sometimes you're just there for the gore. At least I am.
Of course.
So but that's all it is. We saw it. We reviewed it on the channel. I interviewed David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown himself, on the channel.
Yep.
And so we're big Terrifier fans here and keeping a close eye on the Terrifier 2. I think they might have just wrapped. But
that's a good question.
If not, they just finished a shooting day where David posted on his Facebook all gory. He's like, just finished the bloodiest thing we've done. You guys are going to go wild for this. So,
awesome.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I got to watch that before the second one comes out. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me here on episode 34 of McRae Live. Thank you for tuning in. My apologies earlier we were about 25 minutes into the stream and then everything just fell apart because YouTube, it wasn't me, it was actually YouTube. They had some sort of server issue. So there was a massive problem, but thank you for coming back. And Cecil, thank you for coming on, man, and doing this. This has been fun. I like talking shop with you and talking with you. I think we got a good flow, and it's just always fun to talk. And don't forget to follow Cecil's and subscribe to the Horror Show's YouTube channel. It's just called The Horror Show, right? And
the Horror Show channel, that's technically the It's technically the
yeah.
Horror Show
Just
channel,
YouTube.
You'll get there.
Yeah, just YouTube The Horror Show. You'll see it pop up. Don't forget to subscribe to that as well and follow him on social media as well. The Horror Show YouTube, The Horror Show Instagram. I should have brought up your thing. I didn't even.
Yeah. We're Instagram. We're The Horror Show 666, and Twitter we're at Horror Show 666. So
right, 666. I love it. Stick around for a moment, Cecil, while I run through the Patreon card. We'll have more of a formal see you later after we go off the air. But folks, thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune into that. Alrighty, that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your day, and Cecil and I will, everybody will talk to you soon. Cheers. I love these names. Look at these nice names. Ethan LeBlanc, Doug Dial, Bob Devon, Samantha Vestal. These are the people this is the heart. These are the heart. Phil 2 times. Top right corner there. Phil 2 times. I love it. I think Bill Paxton. I think somebody became a patron under Bill Paxton too, which is great. All righty, folks. Take care. Cheers.